Good afternoon. This is Community Connections, community talk for community people. It's the fastest and most friendly weekly 1 hour talk show in the Great Lakes Bay Area. I am so glad that you tuned in this afternoon for another sharing of community talk and information. Today's Community Connection show is brought to you by the Saginaw branch of the NAACP and its Youth Council. We urge you to get connected, be informed, and stay involved. I am Joyce Harvin, and I have a great guest here. This man has got it going on. His name is Jeffrey Bulls, and he is the founder of
Saginaw Cap.
Yep, Saginaw Cap. Well, I have that on my jacket here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I knew you wanted those. I think we gave them all away.
Well, I wanted to get another one, but
We'll get you another.
yes, that's good. But Saginaw Cap. Okay. Now, how long have you been in existence?
Since the pandemic, 2020.
2020.
Yes.
Okay. And time goes by fast.
It does.
Go by fast.
Mhm.
Now, what I'd like you to do is to talk about, well, I want you to talk about what the CAP Council is and why you wanted to put together a organization like that, and how is it going?
So of course it was during the pandemic.
Mhm.
Everybody was at home.
Mhm.
You know, we were scared out of our minds.
Yes.
Thinking we were gonna die. But the reason we started it,
Mhm.
ironically, is because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
Saginaw was on deck to get $52 million from the
yes,
federal government.
That's right. ARPA funds.
Yes. And
Uh-huh.
so we found that out. And at that time, we weren't Saginaw Cat. We didn't have a name or
Mhm.
anything. We were
Mhm.
just a ragtag group of
Mhm.
people that, I was always doing community work, and others in the org, we were all doing our own thing. And so we were at home. We were
Mhm.
on Zoom calls, just
Okay.
talking about different things. And we decided, okay, we'll come together and talk about this $52 million and how it can benefit Saginaw. And man, we can reach out to city council and see if they'll sit down with us. And
Right.
we had a grand plan that we were going to talk about this $52 million, and city council said no. So we don't want to talk about it.
Oh.
And so to this day, we tell them that they're the reason that Saginaw Cap is Saginaw Cap, because we didn't accept their no. We said, well, you're not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And so we got together, we put our plans together, got all our information together,
Okay.
and we had our first community meeting at First Ward about the ARPA funds.
About the ARPA funds.
Yes. And from there, we just took off and kept going.
Had they told the people in the neighborhood, the mass of people that would be receiving that money, did they tell them about it, or did they tell to groups of people who are already established about it?
They didn't tell anybody about it. I think they had internal conversations about it, of course.
Mhm.
I think the city always had their own plan.
Mhm.
And that's why they denied us. They didn't want to talk about it with us, but I'm sure they talked about it with different stakeholders,
Right.
that different moneyed interests that they thought would be able to, use the funds better than regular old citizens like us. And so, but again, we didn't accept that. No, we knew that was what was going on. And so we decided that our people needed to know about those dollars, because most people, when you said ARPA, they were like, what is that? Like,
right.
So we had to even tell them what that meant, like, and why that money was coming. It was pandemic relief dollars,
Right.
for poor people. That
Right.
we wanted that to be clear. Like, the reason Saginaw got $52 million, because it wasn't always $52 million. It got calculated as $52 million because of the census, and that and that there's a very concentrated amount of poor people here. So I believe it was around 20-ish million at first, and then when they recalculated, like, wait a minute, we got a qualified census tract of a lot of poor people here. That's why that number went up to $52 million.
But then did the city actually take half of that? They had 26 million and we did
right off the top. They took half, right? 26 right off the top. And then, down the line, they got more of it. And so, there's very few poor people that got dollars from, those ARPA funds, which
Right.
is not what it was intended to do.
Intended to be.
Yeah.
So did you find out what it was they were supposed to give the money to, or how they were supposed to rebuild the community or give it back to the community?
Well, that was the good thing about the funds. The Treasury guidance was so broad.
Mm-hmm.
They could have did
Right.
almost anything with the money, long as it qualified as pandemic relief, which that could have been anything. It could have been housing. It could have been anything that and we saw other cities do it better. And, as a group, we were sending our leaders here in the city like, hey, look, Grand Rapids is doing this. Hey, Detroit was doing this. And other cities all around the country that they were actually dreaming big. Like, man, we got this one-time money. We'll probably never see that again, because hopefully we won't see a pandemic again. Right. But other cities were actually, being, they were dreaming big and saying, hey, we can help, the poor. We can help our community centers. We can do this, a lot of different things. And for so long, like, that conversation was just really halted. Like, they didn't want to talk about it. And, we can ascertain why, personally, as an opinion, I think that they were, putting together their own plans behind the scenes and saying, hey, we're not going to talk about it over here, but we're talking about it over here.
Did any of that money go into that first attempt to not rebuild, but rehab the city hall? Remember they?
Oh yeah, that came right off the top.
Right.
That was one of the first projects, and that project is still ongoing even
it's
today.
Still ongoing, right?
Yeah.
So, at first when they were looking for money to redo City Hall. All right, and so they waited until the ARPA funds were available.
Yeah. It was mighty convenient. Very convenient. My personal opinion is that the money that they spent on this city hall, we could have built a new city hall for probably half of what they spent on that building.
I want to take the tour and see.
It better be beautiful for all the money that you took away from us. It better be pristine. So we'll see. It's supposed to open, I believe, in the spring. So
it's gonna in the spring.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. I had a couple of guests that didn't make it out because of the weather, but there are some things that I wanted to ask all of them, to see or to measure and understand how well our community and our stakeholders are doing with the money that have been given to us. And since we have a new president, and he's implementing, the Project 2025. He's doing that. I mean, after day one,
even though he's denying it,
yes,
he's really doing it.
Yeah, he really is. And he denied knowing anything about it, but that's a bunch of my life.
Right.
Okay. So, how do you feel about what is happening with the economy? The programs that have started to even go in place, even though, it appears that the president is cutting back on everything and he's looking at trying to build a war, or get something going. How does that look with what he's trying to do and what we are trying to do for the community and make life better for everyone? Okay. And let's talk about what's happening in Saginaw. There are neighborhood groups who put together, putting on, getting the NABE over in the south side, getting that done, and getting that structure back up and making it a recreation or a facility that the whole community can enjoy. Okay. Then we also have First Ward Community Center. We have other projects that have come up that would help the community. How are we looking? What's our report card look like?
Ooh, man. I think, to a word, if I put it in a word, I think we're in crisis. And it's to be expected. This president said what he was going to do, and he's executing it just like he said he would. I mean, obviously, he denied that, Project 2025 wasn't his, plan, but it is. But no, we're in crisis. He's cutting everywhere. He's cutting DEI programs. He's cutting, and that affects our schools. That affects, our school districts. DEI spans, industries, period. Whether it's K through 12 education, whether it's higher education, and on over to the Department of Health and Human Services, like anywhere that has any traces of DEI, and if you still have it, he's cutting it.
Yes.
And so that affects us. That affects poor people more than anything. It affects us first and foremost, because a lot of the programs that we depend on, like SNAP programs that got cut, and other Section 8 got cut, you know what I mean? Like, and so, that puts us, we're already in survival mode. So imagine when you cut the very lifeline that a lot of people depend on to survive, just to wake up in the morning and know that you have some assistance, that you have some help, WIC programs, so on and so forth, and other low income housing and low income programs. It put a strain on a lot of what we do. I mean, even our local CAC, they were, that our CAC, which has been around for about 60 something years, is largely funded by federal funding. And those were some of the first funds to be cut, to the point where they literally had to shut down. And, we had our senators and our U.S. reps, that had to go and fight to get their funding back. And so, thankfully, they got a lot of their funding back.
They got a lot of it, not all of it, but
not all of it, but enough to open up and continue to serve, the community, because the CAC does a lot with helping people with furnaces and roofs and food assistance and rental assistance, mortgage assistance, and so man, we're just scrambling, trying to put the pieces together and hope to see that he doesn't cut anything else. But if these first few months have been any indication, or this first year has been any indication, he's going to continue to cut, and we're going to continue to fight and continue to, I think, hopefully, in crisis, it shows that, and it alerts us that we need to come together. That, that's, to me, that's, and I've said this publicly a lot. The offset to a lot of this is community. If we've never worked together before, we got to work together now.
That's right. That's absolutely right. But why is it so hard to get people in the community, younger people, to understand the programs, or, come to some of the meetings so they will understand the programs and how the bills are put together, to receive the money, how are you going to get younger people and parents to come to some of these meetings and find out why their money is being taken away from them, or why are you not getting the same amount? Why are you not getting the kind of computers and things that you need for education? How are we going to bring everybody together to get some things done? And I know that it's difficult. I know that it's difficult because you have to spend so much time trying to explain to everyone, and then get them ready to do some things. But if we can continue, our current president continues to be, or read that Project 2025, we're going to be in a lot more trouble than where we are.
Right.
So how do we begin to, CAP Council, NAID, CAC, any other program that would come together, City of Saginaw, how are we going to work with them in order to get a lot more done?
I would say it's just going to take effort, and probably a supernatural effort, because and you ask, why is it so hard? It's hard by design. When a lot of this, and I say this, and a lot of people kind of scoff at it, but I don't know why. I don't, it's historically correct. Um, this is by design. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when you continually crush the working class and the lower classes, you put them in a state of desperation on purpose. And that's why it's so hard. If I got to struggle to go to work and I'm working 1, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, a side hustle, trying to get my kids together, myself, I'm about to turn 50. So I'm getting to a place where now my parents are older and getting sick, and now I got to help them. All of this puts us in survival mode. I don't have time to fight. And so that's by design. That's why it's so hard. And that's why it's so hard for somebody like me who leads an organization like Saginaw Cap. And we're trying to get people to see and organize and fight for the resources that we deserve. It's hard to get people to come to a meeting because, man, I got to work. I got to work. I can't miss a minute, because, if I miss an hour or 2 or a day, it could cost me a bill. Something can get shut off. My kids need, I need, something is broken in my house right now. So it puts us in a state of desperation. And when you're in a state of desperation, you don't have time to fight. And so, that's why I consider it myself. I consider it a privilege to be able to go and fight for my people, because a lot of us cannot. And that's why I don't lean on people too hard when they say they can't, because I know the struggle. I'm in it too. I got to work every day too. And so I think we have to give each other grace in that way, and find different ways to get people to organize. Maybe you can't come to this meeting, but organize in a different way. Can you help us call people and share information? Can you be a part of a text campaign? Can you be a part of an email? We just have to be creative, and utilize people where they are. If I can't, if I'm working 2 jobs, I'm working all day. I might have a break in the middle there where maybe I can come help, and you're giving out food. Maybe I can come for an hour and help y'all, and then I'm on to the next job. We have to give ourselves grace enough to say that that's good. Wherever you can help. But a lot of times we don't give each other grace, and that's a unfortunate part of this. But we can do better. I think we can, but that's the offset to this. I think it is hard, and it's going to get harder, because they're going to continue to cut as long as this administration is in place. Other things are going to get cut. It's going to be harder to get assistance, even when they got the SNAP benefits back. They added some stuff onto it. Now I had it. Now I got to reapply for it. I don't have time. I got to go to work. You see what I'm saying? It make it even harder. So that's where we are. But I think we just keep fighting.
So in the fight, do you see education? And I'm talking about parents, young people who are attending, school. Is there any way to get that group of people to come to meetings and understand how we need to better ourselves, and you do that by making sure that your children are in step, getting things done, and carrying out some of the programs that they would be working with, like the NAID. You're on the board, for the board, for the NAID, and I don't know everything about the NAID, but I was certainly glad to see it coming back to life. I was in junior high school. It's been a long time, and I could not believe that they were bringing that building, back into the community, because it sit there for a long time. And they only probably had a couple of things, but nothing like what has happened over the last couple of years. So I I think that the young parents, who are going to the schools and going to the PTA meetings or conferences should be a part of all of what we need, but we have to frame it so that they will understand and want to come.
Right.
Okay. How can we do that? When can you do that?
Information.
Do you think that it's going to really make a difference? When I came back home in 2004, okay, there was only one school that I saw and thought of for my child to go to school was not Houghton Jones, but the Morley School, where Mr. McNair was. Okay. He didn't send anybody home unless they had almost killed somebody or something. He was just a perfect person, for me to educate my child.
Yes.
So how do we get, and I went to a PTA meeting. I went to a conference meeting, and one parent was just, she was just ready to get out of there. She didn't want to be there. And it was like, how can parents not want to know about my child and being educated?
Right.
Okay. So I thought about that a long time, and I still think about that. I think about that when I go past where Morley was. Okay. All right. We're going to come back and talk about this a little bit more. We need to take a break. Okay. So you're listening to Community Connections, Community Talk for Community People. My guest here is Jeffrey Bulls. He's the founder.
Yes.
Not with, but the founder of the CAP Council here in Saginaw. We'll be right back. Founder of the CAP Council, Saginaw CAP Council.
Yes.
How's it going so far?
It's going great.
Okay, good. Because I really want to talk about for a few minutes on how we can get parents, to understand about education, how to be by the side of the children. Okay, making sure that that the parents are going in depth to understand about education and what they can do. And I know that everybody has to get an okay from the superintendent on down. All right. But is it possible? Do you think that it's possible that we could do something like that?
Yeah, I think almost anything is possible to me. I'm an eternal optimist.
Okay.
I think we can do anything that we set our minds to, as long as we put our heads together and organize and get it done. We just have to do. I think we talk about a lot of this stuff, and we talk about it, and we talk about it. We have to get, and I give this to, I got this from a mentor of mine, Mr. John Pugh. He always says, we have to do.
Right.
We have to do.
Yep.
Like, we got to stop talking about it. We know the problems. We can write it out in long form. We can talk about it, but we have to do. And so, yes, I think the answer is yes. We can do. We can organize our young people and teach them the value of organizing, because I think a fundamental part of organizing is, you learn how to stand up for yourself. You learn how to organize around an issue, because it's actually a science and how to organize. You can't just be emotional and have outbursts. There's steps to it. And I think if we teach our children by first organizing where they are in their school, you have problems in that school, we need to teach them how to speak up for themselves. And I think once we do that, you get the basics. And then now we extend that outside of the building into their neighborhood, into their church, into organizations. And now we plug them into organizations with those skills. Now we cooking with hot grease, because now, if they know how to organize and solve problems, that gets our kids out of bad behaviors, because they have a lot of energy and it's unused, and or it's misused in a lot of ways, because they'll find something to do. I think if we direct them in the right path with the skills needed, they'll get it done, and we'll have something to turn over to them. our NAACPs, and we'll be able to turn this stuff over to them because now we've trained them on what to do and how to get it done. And then we can sit back and let them do what they need to do.
That leads me to the youth council with the NAACP.
Okay.
We're ready to roll to expand our membership of our youth council. Okay. And I was one of the advisors, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so we continue, but we're trying to, the national NAACP has a different program from the past. Okay. And, they're doing big things, trying to make some money. Do you watch any of the shows that are on sponsored by the NAACP?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was brilliant. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson, who is the executive director or CEO. I thought that was pretty good. So I'm looking forward to all of that, what we can do with our youth council. So if you have anybody that wants to become a member of the NAACP, it's $10. We have some scholarships available. I would love to have some young people from the schools who are in junior high, okay, in high school, to become members, because it's a whole new era in terms of the orientation, what they need to know and understand. They are going at it very hard to make it happen. And to be a part of something like that in the schools and with the parents, because I want the parents to be with them so they can understand, what they're doing. Because, it may happen that we have to do some more boycotting, to get things done. And I don't want them to think that they're not going to be trained and won't know what to do. I don't want my baby to be out there doing that. No, Mom, you come along too. But think about that. And if you have someone who wants to be a member, please let me know.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sure will.
Absolutely. Okay. Now I also had Kanika was the person, but you're standing in good with Kanika. Okay. And Terry is he didn't get back with me. It was too much of a short notice. But we, with the upcoming election that's going to take place, why is it that there are more groups who are like fraternities and sororities who get into the NAACP and learn some skills, go to the polls, help with all of that we do around the voting time? So why do you think that others don't get involved with the NAACP?
Well, I think, they just haven't been, they haven't been tapped on their shoulder yet. And I think, that's the struggle that a lot of organizations have. I think it's beyond the NAACP. I think what happens is we haven't, really tapped into what, people are really passionate about and what really ails them. I think that's my biggest problem with politics as a whole. In the state of politics, especially in our community.
Right.
We don't stick to kitchen table issues. And those are the things that people are really, really passionate about. And so if you're not talking about what ails me, of course I'm not going to tap into that. You're talking about, and it's no offense to any other, group, but, as a Black person in Saginaw, I don't want to talk about immigration. I don't.
Right.
Now, again, that doesn't mean that somebody else may want to, but I think as a representative of my community, and I organize here, nobody comes to me and talks about immigration and say, hey, we need to talk about that. And so if you have parties and groups that are talking about that, naturally people are not going to tap in. And so I think it's messaging more than anything. If you're not on message, if you're not talking about the things that really ail people, like employment and housing and schooling and you know, because they want their kids to get the best education possible. If you're not talking about those things, you know, people aren't going to tap in. So I think that's the key, you know, with organizations. And that's why, you know, a lot of people have tapped in with us with Saginaw CAP, is because we talk about the things that matter to people. You know, let's talk about criminal justice and how our kids are being treated in the system. But you know what I mean? Like, so it has to be relatable. I guess that's the best word I can say. If we, you know, get on message and be relatable, we'll get the people that we need to fight.
I get that. I get those words from people who say, well, who's part of the NAACP? They'll ask about that, you know, and what are you doing? So, you know, Terry has the most information that we have, but for the young people, you know, that's, again, some new information and a new structure for the youth. But there are people that ask about, you know, who is helping, you know, run to the polls, or not run to the polls, but be a part of that group that would go to the polls and learn about what they need to tell people, you know, when they come. But they say that some of them are not as welcoming, you know, or friendly, you know, to get the job done, or in terms of, you know, what they have to say to them. How do we get other people? Well, I'm not. It's a marketing thing, but still, you know, how do you get other people from other groups who are just, you know, neighbors in the community to be a part of that, or of any organization, you know, that we have here in the community, so they would know what to do?
Yeah, well, so and shout out to the NAACP. We were able to partner with the NAACP on an effort to get people to the polls. It's called Souls to the Polls.
Souls to the Polls.
Yes.
That's right.
And so that was a collaboration. That was us saying, hey, we have like issues, and let's work together. And so I think we have to do more of that. You know, bring it down to the issues. You know, not so much personalities, not so much, you know, hey, you know, this group or that group has this going on, but what do we have in common? And the one thing that we have in common in this region is a lot of people here are either the working poor or part of the Alice population. That's our issue. We have issues around income, around you know, wanting a safe place to work, live, and play. And so we stick to that. Don't get outside of that. And if we stick to the things that matter to us, I think we'll get the partnership that we need. Like, don't worry, you know. And I'll just say I'm a polarizing person. So I know that there are people that, you know, sometimes don't like the things that I say. I think we have to get past that. You know, it doesn't bother me. I know that, you know, sometimes, you know, we get into, you know, we're human. So there's personality conflicts, you know, hey, I don't really mess with this person or that person, but we have to get past that, and get to the issues, stay on the issues. You know, I don't have to like you to work on this issue. And so if we cut out all the stuff that doesn't matter and stick to what matters, which are the issues, and get our people out to vote, also educate them on what they're voting for and why it matters, because I think that's a lot of what I get. I get a lot of people that reach out to me like, why should I vote? Why should I, you know, like, they don't care about us. You know, we get a lot of that. And so a lot of our time is spent on just getting people to buy in. This is why it matters, you know, because either you're on the plate or you're on the menu, either one, you know, so you may as well take charge of you know, what's going to happen. And so I had that, you know, somebody at No, shout out to Baldwin's Restaurant. I had somebody ask me that at the restaurant yesterday.
Oh, okay.
He's like, I've never voted. I'm 25 years old. I've never voted. I've never even cared about voting. He's like, why should I vote? And we had about a 20-minute conversation about it.
Did you ask him one of these questions? Why haven't you voted, and why have you not cared about voting?
I didn't ask him because I know why. Because again, it speaks to the political climate that we've created. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about the things that matter to somebody like him. And so, we have to get the political arena together before we can start saying, hey, come and vote. If you ain't talking about, I know this personally, if you're not talking about what I care about, why would I vote? And to some people, that's like, almost, antithetical. Like they like, man, why would you even say that? Because it's true. They may not tell you, but I'm bold enough to tell you. If you don't, and that's true in any walk of life. If you're not talking about the things that I care about, I'm not even going to be around you, let alone vote.
Right.
And so, and I got other things to do. I got to work. I got to take care of my kids. And y'all ain't talking about what ails me, child care, which is ridiculous. Right. If you're not talking about that, what are we talking about? Why am I voting for you? And you don't have that on your platform at all. Why should I vote for you? Why should I vote for any of y'all? None of y'all are talking about anything that matters to me. So that's the call. That's the remedy to all of this. We have to force the conversation back to what matters to us. And when we do that, we'll get all the people, we'll raise the number. Because, in the city of Saginaw, in a lot of these districts, the voting turnout is 10%, 15%, 20%. If we want them numbers to go up, start talking about what matters to people.
I just work with, some people who were running, and they won. And we were all out in the township. And they just kind of put their arms around. That's why we have a black clerk, in Kochville. We have other people of color who are a part of that political system out there. So it was really interesting to sit and watch, and people would come out, shake hands, and she won. I said, okay, all right, that they were young men. They were primarily white, okay, but there were a few, African Americans who were gathered together, and they were, wanting her to win. So
probably because she's relatable.
Yeah, relatable. But I just looked at the others who were, sharing her victory and who voted for her, in those different precincts.
Yeah.
I was really happy with that, but it needs to be many, many more.
Absolutely.
Many, many, many more. But you're the man with the plan. You have a good plan, and you can keep it up.
Oh, I'm gonna keep it up.
Yes. Did you ever hear about the neighborhood? What was the neighborhood? There was, I can only remember the Jack Haynes. You ever heard of Jack Haynes?
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, he was a community organizer, or he was the director of the community organizer. And they taught people in the neighborhood to how to go, not up against City Hall, but how to talk with them.
Yes.
And how to organize programs and people coming together to do anything. Okay. And I think some of that needs to come back. And it was all paid for with government money. And when I see you, that's where I see the organizing and the man with the plan.
Yeah. It's paramount to anything we want to do in this city. Anything.
Yes.
And there's so many issues to organize around. But if you know the basic rules of how to organize, and it ain't even so much as organizing, but just how to petition your government. A lot of people don't know the right place to go. I ask this question about people in the neighborhood all the time. It's just a conversation starter. I say, if a water main breaks right there, who do you call? And to a man, probably if I said 10 people, 9 people didn't know.
No.
They didn't know. And that's a basic problem that if you don't know who to call for that, do you know who to call for anything else? Probably not.
911.
Yeah, that's probably it. And so luckily, but usually, and I tell people this is why, being well versed in, how your city is run matters. It's because yes, you can call 911, but it's going to take them longer to get to that because now they got to make a call and then somebody else got to make a call. But if you made the right call the first time, it'll save you time and water, if you call the right place the first time. And so I think, and you spoke of it before about the need for our young people to know about city government,
absolutely.
And it's not taught in our schools anymore. And that's something that we need to demand as well.
They need to put it back in the books, Well, we have
they don't have
civics.
a city. They don't have when I was in school, we had what was it called? But it was student government at every level. At 10th grade, you had a student government at that level. At every grade level, you had a student council, and that's gone.
That's right.
It's gone. Right? So how do we expect our young people? We expect when they turn 18, all right, he can vote, but he's never been exposed to any type of government, any type of parliamentary procedure ever in his life. And now he's 18. Now he's voting. What? Well, so we got to get back to that.
Yes. You know what? I've been out of school, with my kids. But you're right. I know that they haven't had civics in a long time, but
not at all. Not even government class.
Right, government class, and that was a staple. I mean, that we needed to have that.
Yeah, you had to have that to graduate.
Wow.
And it's not there anymore. So. Imagine kids coming up through school. They don't have student government. They don't have a government class. So you don't even know the branches of government. You don't. So, but again, they turn 18 and then we say, well, you should go vote. They're looking at you. I've never seen a ballot. I've never seen nothing a part of that process. I've heard y'all talk about it maybe. I've seen some commercials, but they have no clue of what is even in front of them. So how do we expect them to actually just go ahead and tap in? So, of course, a lot of them are not going to engage. And now here they are 25, 30 years old, and they've never voted before. Right. They've never had a reason.
That's a thought. I know that, civics is not taught in class, but the government part of it.
Nope.
That's not.
And I'm just, a cynic, I guess, as some people say. That's on purpose. A less educated populace is just people that go to work. If you're not educated on how to fight the government, you're not going to challenge the government. You're just going to go to work.
Go to work. Go to work where?
Yeah, right. Well, go to work at the lowest job you can get. Yes. And we're just a pliant and, a society that doesn't challenge anything.
Okay.
That's the end goal. You don't challenge nothing. You don't know anything. You're not going to challenge nothing. You're just going to go and work on somebody's line and produce a product and go.
We're going to have to work on that. I'm going to have to pull out some of my stuff. People do things in different places differently. Okay. I keep a lot of my manuals and stuff that I've worked on and had to work on, from Georgia and California. And I'm going to pull out some of that stuff because
you have to share some of
it. Share. I think it would be good. And when I read it, that's why I hang on to it. I read it and use part of it. But people don't seem to want to read that. I guess they want to listen to it some kind of way. I don't know. But I'm gonna bring those manuals out.
Yeah,
and see what we doing. Listen, this hour has gone very, very fast. Okay, and we're about to run out of time. How many minutes do we have? Oh boy, we've run overtime. Wow. Okay, Jeff, I want to say thank you. This has gone very, very fast, but it's a good topic.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that everyone needs to know about that because it's coming up to election time and everything else. And I also want the information to be passed around and heard about Project 25. They need to know about that.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you for taking time through
Thank you
this
for having me.
winter day to come and sit and talk about what the community needs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll talk to you again. He's the man with the plan, Jeffrey Bulls.
Thank you.